PPP Loan Q&A with Farmers State Bank. My name is Jill Franks, and I'm the Director of Marketing, Farmers State Bank. And alongside me here is my second director in crime, I guess, Emma Davis. He's also and together we make up the marketing team at Farmers State Bank.
Yeah, exciting stuff. We're happy to have everyone on this afternoon. Thanks for joining.
Yes. So today we're super excited to have our CFO, Matt Businaro, on with us.
Matt has actually been with the bank for 3 years. He's like Jill said, our CFO, but since the second draw of PPP came out this year, he's kind of taken ahead of that. He's facilitated it since it's come out. So hopefully he's going to come prepared with lots of information to share with you guys.
Yeah, he's been doing this for a while now. So he, for the whole year since came out, the PPP program has been released. So he's been number one in command when it comes to answering anyone's questions and getting all of those applications through and funded. So without further ado, I think let's bring on Matt.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you ladies today.
Hey, Matt.
There we go. Now we can see you.
Keep moving around the screen.
We were just giving you all the accolades and talking you up, letting everybody know how much you've helped out with the PPP process and customers since COVID-19.
Yeah, appreciate the compliments, and it's been a good process. We feel like we have been since April of last year been able to help many businesses. I think between the multiple sessions of PPP we've had now, we're well over 1,000 loans now that we've done. Some of those are folks that got a loan from us a year ago and have got a loan from us then again this year, and so we're more than happy to help those people more than one time because small businesses really are the lifeblood of our country, and they employ so many people, and so the need is just so great for so many people, so many small business owners all over our country right now, and we are just thrilled to be able to help in any way that we can to keep their folks employed and taken care of.
Amazing. Yeah, I know you've been really, our whole PPP team has been so busy getting those processed and funded, and we're excited that we were able to help so many people.
We really do have an amazing team. Some of the compliments I hear over and over again from people all over the country is they're just so thrilled with the service we provide. They're thrilled to talk to a person. When they call with questions, they get a real person. They don't get the runaround, and so we're appreciative to be able to do that. That's our passion, and so we're very excited to be able to help in any way we can.
Absolutely. You guys have been doing an awesome job. So the way this is going to work, kind of give everybody that's viewing just a quick what to do. We have some pre-submitted questions, so we'll be asking those questions to start it out, and I'm going to throw them up on the screen as we go, so everybody who tunes in whenever they are on, they can see what we're talking about. But also, if you're viewing right now, throw a question that you have about PPP loans, the application process, anything that you might have, go ahead and throw that in the comments below, and then we'll make sure we do our best to get to those throughout this question and answer. But I think we have our first question. So I'm going to throw that up here, and I think it's the most common question we get.
Matt, how do I apply for a PPP loan?
Well, that's an excellent question, Emma, and probably the most important question. The way that we are accepting applications for PPP is through our website, which is www.myfsb.com. If you go to our website, at the very top of the screen, you're going to see a yellow banner about PPP. Click on the little button that says read more, and that'll take you to our PPP application page. It's kind of self-explanatory from that point about what you need to click on to get the process started. But that's basically how you apply. Once you get in there, it was going to ask you if you're new to us and have not done a loan with us previously, it's going to ask you if you're wanting to apply for a first draw, meaning you've never received a PPP loan before, or if you're wanting to apply for a second draw, meaning that you received a loan last year but didn't get it with us. So if that applies to you, you click that one. So whichever one applies is what you click on, and then there's just several questions to answer it from that point forward. But it's not an overly complicated process. That being said, there are times when there's going to be questions that just don't make sense, or there's going to be information that you're going to be asked to submit that you may not understand exactly what we're asking for. Again, please email or call us. Our phone number is going to be on the screen, very easy to find, and we are more than happy to help answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, I know. I was on there today and I was just playing around with it, but there was one time when the first time I went on my phone, and I know I went to www.myfsb.com and I saw the yellow banner. Now on that banner, there is a X mark, and for some reason I couldn't get that back up on my phone, so that yellow banner went away. So I canceled out the X mark, but on our website, if you scroll down just a little bit under that first picture, there's 3 boxes there, and there's a gray one that says PPP loans. I believe that will bring you to the portal as well. So if you make that mistake like I did and clear out that banner, we do have access in another place, but that yellow banner I think is the most easy place. So don't X that out like I did.
Yeah, the yellow is kind of intended to stand out, but that's good to know. I didn't realize there was another way to access that. So,
yeah.
so that's very helpful, Jill. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jill.
For sure. So I found the portal. I'm in there. Another question would be, what information do I need to provide or even like have on hand in order to apply?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are new to our bank, what you're going to need to provide is going to be, if this is a first draw for you, you're going to need to provide payroll documentation. So if you have employees, that's going to be probably your 4 quarterly Forms 941, and each one of those, if you add those 4 quarters together, that's going to give us what your total payroll is for the year. So we're going to need that. We're going to need some sort of document to prove that you were in business on February 15th, 2020. So for a lot of businesses, that's going to be your first quarter 2020 Form 941. If you are a sole proprietor or a farmer and don't have employees, that's going to be probably your February 2020 bank statement. And I should also say, as far as payroll documentation that you provide, I mentioned the 941s for businesses that have employees. If you are a sole proprietor or a farmer who does not have employees, you're going to upload your 2019 or 2020 Schedule C or Schedule F, depending on if you're a farmer, it would be the Schedule F. If you're a sole proprietor, it'll be your Schedule C. Whichever one has higher numbers. You actually, for this round of PPP, you can use whichever payroll is higher, 2019 or 2020. So it's kind of a nice option that the government allows you to use either of those years. And it's also convenient because a lot of folks maybe don't have their 2020 tax return done yet.
Right.
If you are a second draw PPP, meaning you got a loan a year ago, if you did not get that first loan from us, the information I just mentioned, you will still need to provide to us because we don't currently have it on file for you. And in addition to that, you're going to need to provide some sort of documentation to prove that your gross receipts went down in 2020 from 2019 by 25% or more. Right. That could be for the entire year. So maybe your entire year of 2020 was 25% or more less than 2019 was. Or it could be just a quarterly comparison. So let's say that overall your business was down for the whole year by maybe 15%. But your second quarter, which is when kind of all the COVID really started impacting businesses.
Shutdowns and.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe your second quarter of 2020 was 40% less than your second quarter of 2019. Then you can provide us some sort of documentation from the second quarter of 2019 and the second quarter of 2020 that shows that your income was down by 25% or more. That information could be a financial statement. If you prepare financial statements in QuickBooks, you could provide us that documentation. Or if you have financial statements prepared by an outside accountant, those financial statements would work. If you don't have anything like that, you could provide bank statements from those 3 months of each year. and that show that your deposits were less in 2020 than they were in 2019, and that would work. But those are only for the second draw PPPs. If you are a first draw PPP, you don't have to provide us
the 25% proof of, yeah, okay.
Correct.
Gotcha. Well, let's back up here. Just for all of our viewers watching, who all can apply for a PPP loan?
Excellent question. So really, it's any small business, generally speaking, with 500 or fewer employees. If you have more than 500 employees, there's some additional hoops that you have to jump through. So if you're and I should say the 500 applies to first draws. So any small business that has 500 or fewer employees, that's a first draw, can apply. There are some limits on certain types of nonprofit organizations. Certain ones are not eligible, but most nonprofits are eligible. But otherwise, any sole proprietorship, farmer, S corporation, C corporation, partnership, LLC, any of those types of businesses, if they're 500 or fewer employees, they can apply for a first draw loan if they have not received one previously. If you've already received a first draw and you're applying for a second draw, then that limit drops to 300 employees. So 300 or fewer employees for a second draw.
Okay, that's
Right.
great.
Wow.
Great. This is one I get a lot. I hear a lot is my loan really forgivable? We all know that, I mean, that's the most hesitant, people hesitate the most on that is if I do this, is this actually forgivable? Do I trust that? Is it going to be, do I have to file taxes for it? So is it forgivable?
Absolutely. In fact, we've had great experience with several of our first draw loans that we did a year ago that have applied for forgiveness and they have been forgiven. Basically, the requirement is as long as you spend the money for the types of things that are allowable, and you spend all of it, then your loan is forgivable. And we've seen that. So yeah, we know it to be true.
Good. And then when I file taxes this year, say I've received that funding, what does that look like? Do I have to claim that as income, or what does that look like?
Right. Actually, it's not considered to be taxable income, so you don't have to claim it as income. And due to legislation that was passed at the end of 2020, you can deduct the expenses that were paid for with your PPP loan. So it's almost kind of like a double benefit. You don't pay tax on the money coming in, and you get to deduct the expenses that you paid for with that money.
Very cool.
And then something else off of that, Jill, that I've been hearing a lot is how long would that person have to spend the money? Is there a certain time period that they have to spend the money in, or?
That is an excellent question. So there's a minimum of 8 weeks that you have to spend over. So you can't just spend it all like day one. You should make it stretch out at least 8 weeks. But the maximum period of time that you have to spend it over is actually 24 weeks after you receive the money. So when I say 8 weeks, if you receive the money today, 8 weeks from today is the minimum amount of time you have to spend it over. But you can take up to 24 weeks from today to spend that money.
Okay, and that's for both round one and round two.
That's exactly right.
Okay, very cool.
Helpful stuff.
Yeah. So something came out today that is pretty exciting. And I think we should talk about that for sure. But I know I was on a call earlier, and my hairdresser, who is in Minnesota, she was, she qualifies for some funding. And today was the first day that it counts from gross income, or the calculation from gross income rather than net income. Is that correct?
That's correct. So actually about a week ago, President Biden mentioned that he's wanting to do this, and it's kind of taken SBA. Nothing happens overnight. When a politician says, "I want to do this," the folks that make the engine run kind of takes them a little while to get things done. But late yesterday afternoon, SBA finally issued their guidance about the new way to calculate loan amount for Schedule Cs. And so you're exactly right. In the past, this loan amount was calculated based on your net income. Now you can calculate it based on the gross income. So for a lot of folks, that's going to make a real difference on the amount of money that they're able to get.
Yeah, I think it was pretty incredible. Just for an example, if she was to calculate it, we ran both numbers. If she was to calculate on net income, I think she received around $6,000, but with the gross income, she would be receiving around $14,000. So that's double what she would have received if she was in the calculation the other way. So that's incredible news.
That's exactly right. We're very excited about that. I will say, as part of the guidance that came out, anybody who has already received a PPP loan and been funded for it, unfortunately, they are not able to go back and reapply to get more money. So this only applies for Schedule Cs that are applying from this point forward.
Mm.
So that's unfortunate, but it's
good
for those who are still yet to apply, and maybe will cause them to rethink their decision if they thought, I'm not going to get very much, I don't want to do this. It may be worth revisiting.
Right. Right. I know right now we're also under a 14-day exclusive. 20 employees or less have the exclusive rights to apply. Is that still happening right now?
Correct. Anyone with fewer than 20 employees are the only people who can apply right now. So, and that ends, I believe, Tuesday of next week. So yeah, the goal is to really emphasize and help those types of businesses that have those fewer number of employees, because the thought is that maybe they are maybe ignored or not taken care of. Certainly, we've helped a lot of those people in that category all along, and see a lot of those and help a lot of those. But yeah, that's certainly a thing right now.
Okay.
You don't have to have accounts with Farmers State Bank. We can provide funding for out of state, or if you bank somewhere else, correct?
That's 100% correct. We have literally helped folks, I don't know from all 50 states, but all over the country. We've done a lot from the kind of the New York, New Jersey area, a lot of them from even California, Florida. So you don't have to be a Farmers customer. You don't have to be in Illinois. We can help anybody anywhere. We'll ask you when it's time to fund your loan, where would you like those funds deposited, and just give us your routing number and account number, and we'll make it happen.
That's amazing. You can help anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
That's good. Here's one. This kind of goes off of the same idea. If you did your first round of PPP at another bank, can we still file with you at Farmers? Is that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you ever receive your first draw from a different bank and for whatever reason you weren't provided good service or whatever, yeah, we're happy to take care of you in round two. We're not making it a requirement that we're only helping folks that we helped in round one. We're willing to help anybody.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good question that just came in. It's from a farm, and he's asking, if we farm as a sole proprietor but made a profit over 2019, are we still eligible to apply for the first funding, or must we have a 25% loss?
Okay, so I need probably a little more clarification on that. I'll answer this a couple different ways. If you didn't apply for a round one loan, and so this is the first time you're applying, you may certainly apply now, and you don't have to demonstrate that you have a 25% loss. If you did get a first draw loan a year ago and are wanting to apply now for a second draw, you would have to be able to demonstrate that you have a 25% loss. And that 25% loss is not like a net loss on your bottom line, meaning that your expenses were higher than your income. It means that your income, your gross income, was 25% less than the prior year. So as a farmer, your grain sales a year ago were $1 million. This year, your grain sales are $700,000. You've got a 30% loss. You can apply for round two. But again, if you didn't apply in round one, and this is your first time applying, the 25% reduction in revenue concept is not applicable.
So you can apply for first round funding if you have not, if you're a farmer and can't prove the 25%. Yeah.
If you're applying for first funding, then yes, you don't have to. The 25% loss is not anything you need to worry about.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
Now, what if someone is just now applying for round one? When can they apply for round two, or are they able to apply for the second draw?
Okay, so you asked earlier about how long do I have to spend the money, and I told you that there's an 8-week minimum. So that would come into play. So if you're just now applying for round one, you would have to wait 8 weeks because you have a minimum of 8 weeks over which you have to spend those funds. The program ends in about 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks now. So you're not going to have enough time to apply for a second draw now. So you're really only going to be able to get that first draw now. Now, that being said, a year ago, when they very first opened it, the money lasted about 14 days, then it shut down for a couple of weeks, and then they opened it up again. So it's always possible that they might do another round of PPP at some point later on this year if the economy warrants that. But we don't know that to be the case. So my answer as we sit here today is if you're just now applying for round one, that's all you're going to get.
Right. And just to reiterate, you said it's expiring at the end of March. Is that correct?
Sure. March 31st is the last date. And I will also say what's important about that, that's the last date that we can fund a loan. So if you don't want to apply on March 31st, you want to apply probably a week before March 31st to give us time to get your application submitted to SBA and for them to review it and assign you a loan number. If you wait till March 31st to apply, it's going to be too late. Most likely.
And for funding, so I say I've applied, I've turned in all my documentation, everything that you need. How long after closing that do I actually receive that funding?
Okay, so once you've submitted everything to us, when we reviewed your loan and you have signed your application, which is a form 2483, once you've signed that, we submit it to SBA, and I would say within a week after you sign that 2483 and we've reviewed everything, within a week you should have your funding. Generally speaking, it takes SBA anywhere from a day to 5 days to review and assign you a loan number. And once we have that loan number, we try to get you funded within a day or two.
Wow.
Great.
Another question from Miss Katie Barter. Thanks, Katie.
Okay, so good question. Unfortunately, for farmers, it has to be a Schedule F. So 4835 would not be eligible for a PPP.
Okay.
And while we're talking about the different schedule types, say someone files as a Schedule C, how would they calculate their average payroll? Okay,
that's a great question. It's a really good question. So I would first direct you to look at the net income number. And the reason I say that is with some of the stuff that came out yesterday, there's a few more hoops if you're using your gross income instead of your net income. So if your net income is $100,000 or more, you will use $100,000. You will add to that, if you have employees, what their wages are. You know, take that number and divide it by 12, and that's going to be your average monthly payroll. If your bottom line is less than $100,000, then I would say go ahead and look at your gross income and use that number, and then subtract from that your employee wages, and if you pay health insurance and retirement for your employees, those numbers. And if that number is still more than $100,000, you'll use $100,000. If that number at that point is less than $100,000, use whatever that number is, and then add to it, if you have employees, your employee payroll costs. You'll divide that by 12, and that'll give you your average monthly payroll.
Okay, so a lot of information there. If you are watching,
sorry.
you're more of a visual learner.
Make it super easy.
No, but you explained it well. You explained it perfectly. But if you're watching and you're more of a visual learner, feel free to contact us at any of our branches, which of course are on our website, or at smallbiz at myfsb.com, and we can run those numbers for you again.
This is another one that came in not too long ago. Let me just see. Oops, sorry, it takes me a minute to get the right banner up. What about applying for forgiveness? We talked about the 8 weeks.
Correct.
What's going on with forgiveness?
Okay, so the way that we submit our forgiveness requests to SBA is through basically the same portal that we accept your information to process your loan on the front end. So what we will do, and we don't know the exact dates we're going to do this yet, but sometime over the summer, we are going to send out an email to everybody and give them a link to access the forgiveness portal. And then they will, based on the size of their loan, there's a couple different forms that you can use. They will fill out how they use the money. If their loan is over $150,000, they're going to need to upload documents to show us how they spent the money. We can't just take their word that they spent it. They have to, unfortunately, they have to prove it. If their loan's less than $150,000, they really just need to answer some questions and tell us how much they spent on payroll and how much of their loan should be forgiven. So it's a very simple process if your loan's under $150,000. But the short answer is, stay tuned. We will send you an email with a link on how to access our portal to apply for forgiveness. Something else while you're asking about that's very exciting, and I don't know if there are any questions about it, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump in here. Starting tomorrow, we are able to accept forgiveness applications under this streamlined process for loans that are under $150,000. Prior to this, if your loan was between 50 and 150,000, it was a little bit more complicated process. So what we've encouraged the folks, first round loans were between those dollar amounts. We kind of asked them to hold off, be patient. We know this form's coming. The day has finally arrived. Tomorrow, we're very excited about that. It's going to be night and day easier to apply for forgiveness. So if you got a loan from us in round one and it's between 50 and 150,000, stay tuned. You'll get an email tomorrow to be able to access your forgiveness application. So we're very excited about that.
So that's a much simpler way of doing things, is the one page.
Unbelievably simpler.
Okay. Well, that's great.
That is.
On both ends, it'll be great for our customers and great for the bank as well. So that's so that kind of goes along with this. What documentation do I need to provide for forgiveness? And we just talked about that one-page document. What if your loan is bigger than $150,000? We just have to stay tuned and wait.
No, so if your loan is larger than 150 and you got a round one loan for us, we've already been in contact with you to ask you for documentation. But for those who are going to borrow over 150,000 in this second wave of PPP that we're in right now, this is good information for them to have too. So basically, you're going to have to prove what you spent on payroll. So you're going to want to provide us payroll registers for either the 8 or up to 24-week period after you got your money to show how much you spent on payroll. You'll also need to show us your 941s for that period so that we can confirm that your payroll register is accurate. And then if you spent money on things other than payroll, you'll need to provide us with copies of checks or bank statements that show what you spent those monies on, and copies of bills from the companies that you paid. And so let me go ahead and I think there was a question on this, so I'll go ahead and jump on that as well. About what can you spend the money on? The big item is payroll. I mean, after all, it is the Paycheck Protection Program. So that's the main point of this, is to keep your employees and yourself paid. But there are some other things that you can spend the money on. So those would also be employee health insurance premiums, employee retirement plan contributions, mortgage interest payments. If you've got a mortgage on your business, the interest you can pay for out of PPP funds. If you rent your building, those rent payments can be deductible. The rent agreement has to have been in effect on or before February 15th of 2020. So February 15th, 2020 is kind of a key date for a lot of these things. Utilities. So as long as you had a utility on or before February 15th, then you can deduct those payments out of your PPP proceeds. And then there's a few new categories that are very complicated. I'm going to tell you what they are, but if you want more information about them, that's probably going to be a situation where you're going to want to email me. Yeah. But covered operations expenditures, covered property damage costs, covered supplier costs, and covered worker protection expenditures are other areas. But if you use the 24 weeks, which is what I recommend, you're probably going to have in the payroll that payroll is going to be the only thing you're going to really need to provide documentation for. So that would be my encouragement there. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for sharing those guidelines. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are unaware of what they can spend their money on once they do get the loan. So.
And something I failed to mention, I keep thinking of things as I'm sitting here. You have to spend at least 60% of the PPP money on payroll. You can spend more than that, but not less than that if you want it to be fully forgiven.
Okay, great. If all of this, if I forget to apply for forgiveness, what will happen?
We will remind you.
Okay.
we'll follow up with a phone call. We'll follow up with emails. We're going to reach out to you if you forget to apply for forgiveness. You have up to 10 months after the end of the covered period to apply for forgiveness. So that if you use 24 weeks, which is basically 6 months, you've got 10 months to apply for forgiveness after that. So you could, for some folks, it could be almost 15 or 16 months after they got their loan that they have to apply for forgiveness.
Okay. Great. So we'll be reminded. That's good.
Yeah. We hope they apply before then, but they can wait that long.
Okay. I'm trying to think. Let me see if there's any more questions. Here comes one. Oh, Christy Biggs says, that's good to know. Don't let me forget, Matt. We will.
I won't, Christy. No worries. Chrissy's a former coworker of mine and a top-notch CPA. So
is she good? Good. I'm trying to think. Any other things?
You're the man for the job and getting people their money in short periods of time, huh, Matt? Because you have a lot of experience in the finance industry and helping people. So you're the man for the job.
Thank you.
It doesn't look like there's any more questions coming in, and we've kind of gone through all of our pre-written questions. Matt, if there's anything else that you can think of or something you want everybody that's viewing just to take away from this conversation, or any last words that you want to leave with our viewers today, what would you tell them?
I just encourage you, if you're on the fence about applying, give us a call. I think we have a good, streamlined, efficient process. We're here to help. We want to help. We've got a good team that is here and ready to take care of all of your PPP needs, and for that matter, any other type of lending needs. PPP is one program we offer, but it's not the only program we offer. We do 7A loans, which is another type of SBA product. Right now is a really attractive time if you are in need to refinance a commercial mortgage, or you're maybe looking to do some sort of transition planning, let's say to the next generation, and you want your kids you're thinking about retirement and your kids are ready to step in and take over the business. Maybe it's a good time for them to buy you out. So there's that's an attractive thing. And I think maybe there's another Q&A coming about that in the near future. But we're just here to help. That's
great. And there's one more question that came in. I think you touched on, it was the farm question from earlier, but just to reiterate, the first draw does not require showing of any loss.
That's correct. The first draw is totally based on your average monthly payroll, which for a farmer would be your gross farming income. So you take your gross farming income, and if you pay employees on a W-2, what you pay them, your gross farming income is going to be capped at $100,000 for the self-employed farmer. Then they will add any labor cost they have for folks that they pay on W-2. Take that amount, divide it by 12. That's your average monthly payroll. Multiply that times 2.5, and that's going to be your loan amount. You don't have to have a loss on your Schedule F to be able to get a first draw loan.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Here's one more question that came in now that we were wrapping things up, but there's a couple of good ones. Can you verify the date the business had to actually be in business to qualify?
Leslie, that's an excellent question, and Leslie actually is part of our guaranteed lending department and does an outstanding job. So she's been helping us through this PPP process. So she hears a lot of really good questions in her dealings, and this is one that she gets a lot, and we all get a lot. February 15th, 2020 is the kind of the key date. You know, in order to apply for PPP, basically you have to be affected by COVID. And so if you weren't in business as of February 15th, you kind of got into business during a COVID period. So you really, while you were affected by COVID didn't diminish your business. If you were in business prior to February 15th, you obviously were operating here, and now because of COVID, you're operating here. I'm trying to get my hands in the camera. It's tricky. So February 15th, 2020 is kind of that very important date.
Great. All right.
So I'll use sole proprietors, independent contractors, and then self-employed individuals out there. Call us or visit our website. You can still, there's still time to apply. Our portal is open and our staff is in the office daily to help.
Yeah, and any question you might have. I know this morning, 𝗪𝗓 𝗪𝗠 and I, we walked through somebody step by step when they were through that application. You know, sometimes those questions, those forms get confusing. A lot of CPAs or small business CPAs take care of that for them. They don't know exactly where to look. So we can walk you through those steps too. We'd be happy to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad we had so many questions come through. I think you answered a lot and provided great information. So thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. You ladies and everybody out here who's watching, have a great afternoon, and give us a call.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.